Greetings everyone, this is Hero. Might this perhaps be considered the second coming of DeepSeek? That's right, Moonshot AI, a Chinese AI startup founded in 2023 by Tsinghua University graduate Yang Zhilin, has just open-sourced an AI model boasting a staggering 1 trillion parameters. Not only that, but its performance is remarkably impressive, demonstrating its strong capabilities. While big tech companies continue to invest and develop their unique proprietary models, among the US big tech firms, Meta has been pushing an open model strategy. This has compelled OpenAI to some extent, with rumors circulating that they would release an open model next week, even disclosing its parameters. Well, there were discussions along those lines, but it appears this announcement might have prompted them to delay it. China's momentum is incredibly powerful. In fact, it's been said that the Kimi app's ranking fell after DeepSeek introduced its budget-friendly model. So, to regain its foothold, Moonshot AI, the company behind Kimi, released an open-source AI model called Kimi K2. They did this amid intense competition within China. We will delve into the details of what this model contains and its implications. Additionally, we'll examine the recent concept of sovereign AI, where our government is proactively attempting to take the lead. However, various companies have differing interests, and there seems to be some friction. There appears to be some tension and rivalry between companies like KT and Nava. Regardless, with China's increasingly aggressive investments in AI, let's take some time to really consider how we should respond to this situation and how we can effectively utilize these advancements to our benefit. First of all, this Kimi K2 from Moonshot AI actually utilizes the mixture of experts, or MOE, architecture, which has been quite popular these days. They say it boasts a staggering 1 trillion parameters, yet it is designed such that only 32 billion are activated when it's in use, which is 320 billion, so that's how it's configured. It was just 2 years ago that many expressed the opinion that MOE was a very difficult structure to utilize. There were even those who said, you can absolutely never use the MOE architecture. However, we are aware of the scaling law, which states that performance improves as the number of parameters increases. But if you have to activate, for example, 1 trillion of them every single time, the hardware burden of networking and computing all of that data becomes an overwhelming challenge. MOE is regaining attention as an alternative. So, the many experts within the model conceptually, it's explained as a few experts gathered, but it's not actually like that. It's a concept where they split up automatically during training, but anyway, the idea is to make operations more efficient during inference by activating only a portion of it. When we say expert here, there are a total of 384 experts. So, the overall size is scaled up to 1 trillion, yet only 8 out of 384 available experts are selected and activated for use. 2 different versions have been released. So as you can see here, there's the Kimi K2 base and the Kimi K2 instruct versions. So this base model is mainly for researchers and developers. These are the types of models that others can acquire and then fine-tune or optimize. Meanwhile, instruct models are typically designed for general conversational use, like chatting, or to provide quick responses for agent-based tasks. Because when we're trying to build an AI agent, these capabilities need to have a very quick response time, and it seems to have been specifically designed for that purpose. Let's take a brief look at the benchmarks. The section highlighted in blue right now represents a direct comparison based on the Kimi K2 instruct model. It has basically surpassed DeepSeek v3, and its performance is comparable to the newly released GPT-4.1 and Claude 4 Opus. But the key is, this was released open source. And here, they've slightly switched it to Claude 4 Sonnet, but it shows quite decent performance in multilingual tasks as well. So, when comparing it to models such as Qwen2 or OpenAI's GPT-4.1, you can generally assume that it performs better than OpenAI's GPT-4.1. But since they released this as open source, I wonder if Semi was so surprised that they decided to wait a bit before releasing what they had planned for next week. Something like that. So, there are also sections here that detail exactly how this whole configuration is set up. Context length is 128K, so much can be input. However, regarding this open source initiative, Moonshot AI is specifically emphasizing its advanced agentic functionalities. They continue to emphasize that scores for agentic coding are extremely high. The 4th entry shown here, that's Claude 4 Sonnet. Opus also follows closely behind. Yet, they keep comparing to the highest scores, emphasizing their agent performance is clearly superior. Of course, the other scores are high too, but since they're releasing this as open source, services will have to be built on top of it. Just because it trained on 1 trillion tokens doesn't mean it uses them all, right? Given that it's designed to activate just 8 experts using its MOE architecture, it's essentially them saying, please take our model and generate a multitude of AI agents. Upon examining the actual training process, it began with hundreds of agents repeatedly practicing tool usage within a virtual environment, after which an AI referee was introduced. So it seems they continuously improve the training quality by reviewing the task results and filtering out any inappropriate outcomes. So, for the Kimi K2 instruct, I believe the concept of this instruct model might have been tuned using a reinforcement learning style approach, judging by the information available. Already many methods for using K2 for free are popping up like this. There are many videos on this topic and I will share them separately. However, for those of you who are interested, to run this, even if it's a 1 trillion parameter model, you'll need a system capable of handling it, which certainly won't be an easy task. So, just keep in mind that this is likely something that developers, researchers, or businesses would be able to use. However, with China's increasingly aggressive stance in this sector, there's a growing sense of apprehension and concern about their moves, don't you think? Before we get into that, for its pre-training, it used 15.5 trillion tokens. It feels like they basically scraped everything clean from the internet. Now, the truth is, all of these things, like copyright issues and such, are in quite a grey area, so one needs to be very cautious. And as I pointed out earlier, a context length of 128K is about the size of an entire book. And here, the mu-on-clip optimizer is a topic that comes up quite a bit. You can actually think of this as an algorithm specifically created to train AI models with greater stability and at an accelerated pace. Especially when you're training large-scale, 1 trillion parameter models like this, a phenomenon called training instability tends to emerge. So, it needs to be effectively trained to connect properly in a certain direction. This optimizer, however, prevents issues like it constantly slipping and veering off in an undesirable direction or becoming somewhat lost and disoriented, which you can understand as its role. So, they're saying it also played a role in maintaining the stability, that they handled it well. However, something surprising about the scores I mentioned earlier was that the Math 500 score was incredibly overwhelming. Most of the others had scores around the early 90s, so this one came out exceptionally high and dominantly. These kinds of results suggest that they probably achieved this by effectively optimizing a considerably large model in accordance with the effects of scaling. Everyone, it's out as an API, of course, and you can use it as a service, but the key point is that it's been released as open source. That's the key. So if you look at Moonshot AI's pricing policy here, it's also very cheap. The latest version shows distinct policies for 8K, 32K, and 128K, priced at 15 cents per million tokens. Of course, that's for input, and output is $2, so compared to OpenAI or Anthropic, it's quite affordable right now, offering this inexpensive approach. I'm specifically referring to API usage here. With an API, I'm not installing the open source model myself. They provide the server, and I just call it to use it. I just showed you the small model, but the policy is the same for a large model like this. For 10,000 tokens, it's about $2.50. So you wonder, why wouldn't I use it? It just launched on July 11th. But for those who don't want to spend any money at all, they can simply take the open source version. As long as they have the hardware to support it, they can use it. Ultimately, this open source strategy isn't just making high-performance AI the exclusive property of big tech, but instead it is making it accessible for everyone to use. So developers are really excited about this. So by investing just a few cents, you can create a chat like this with Python. So I told it to take salary data from 2020 to 2025, integrate its own analysis, and then generate a specific output. The result is precisely what you see here. We've entered an era where you can produce visualizations and similar content directly using Python for mere cents, just a few hundred, one making it instantly achievable. They are suggesting this is as economical as Gemini Flash. Therefore, in terms of properly leveraging agentic AI, you can see how adeptly you can configure it in this manner. Kimi K2, utilizing Gemini 2.5 Pro, successfully developed a web-based Minecraft in a single attempt after 6 tries spanning 4 days. And they're exclaiming, wow, it swiftly generated the JavaScript, configured it, and produced this immediately. Such accounts are emerging, and it's truly remarkable. Furthermore, they've mentioned it even developed a typing game. So, they took Claude's code as a base, incorporated K2 into it, and gave it a try. It instantly created something. What exactly did it create so quickly? It even sets up the CSS automatically, meaning you can quickly create a really fun typing game like this. Bang, 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 bang. Wow, that's truly incredible, right? So, they're stressing that K2 goes beyond a mere chatbot, excelling in agentic functions. When presented with a concrete problem in daily life, it's designed to solve it. It's as if they're telling you, go ahead and craft whatever you need. If a tool isn't available, simply create it yourself. That's essentially the path they're taking. Beyond that, it excels in long document analysis and programming, things we can build daily. It also handles multiple languages well, along with many other uses. As you can see, a huge number of companies in China are making significant investments right now. This time, Kimi K2 was also released with an open source strategy to keep up with DeepSeek. Plus, Alibaba, Tencent, Baidu, and DeepSeek are all actively releasing open source models. I mean, they have to compete with the US, so this can be seen as a strategic move to counter the technology restrictions the US has imposed. The truth is, our country cannot invest on such a large scale, and the current environment makes it incredibly difficult to do so. Anyway, if China releases these to developers as open source, they'll be able to use them, which allows China to show off its tech skills and build a global developer community at the same time. Bringing in open source isn't about selling information to them, everyone. Many discuss this without knowing, but it's not server-based. Bringing in open source means running it locally on your computer. So, even startups with limited funds or major corporations in our country can surely use these, because you can utilize an excellent model like this without investment. So in the future, Kimi and other models will also be able to integrate thinking functions. As these capabilities expand, things like NVIDIA's AI PCs, for example, will finally begin to widely propagate. So the possibility has now arisen for a lot of memory, such as SODIMM, to be widely integrated. This is because back when AI wasn't open source, others simply had to connect to a server to run it. However, that's no longer the case. But now, if an ecosystem is built around these, China could take the lead, and that might require AI PCs. It becomes a completely different form from existing PCs. For now, the absence of a vision feature presents some challenges, and since I haven't personally used it, there are aspects like potential bias that cannot be solely assessed by benchmark scores. Nevertheless, China's strategy appears incredibly formidable. In Korea, it's still ranked around 8. This is a summary someone put together this April. The US is overwhelmingly dominant, but you can see that China is investing a lot, right? South Korea is significantly lacking in this area. The government is attempting to lead, and they're involving many private companies to accomplish things. This really begs the question of whether we should develop our own AI model. Alternatively, KT recently announced their partnership with Microsoft, stating they will build an AI using solely data from within South Korea. There's also such talk circulating. So, for sovereign AI, the definition varies. Nava discusses it the most, but KT's view differs, leading to some disagreement. In any case, Nava's argument is that, due to technological barriers, a nation must establish its own core AI model. KT, however, views it from a different perspective, emphasizing that the data used for training is more crucial than the model itself. Anyway, regarding the securing of this sovereignty, it's uncertain how things will progress from here. However, since China possesses everything, be it hardware, software, or all the data included, it leaves us pondering how South Korea should deal with this. These aspects are becoming a significant and worrying concern. I was originally going to cover Grok 4, but this news seemed more urgent, so I quickly put this together. For those who want to hear this in English, check out my international channel, Unreal Tech. I also share short updates like this on Instagram, so please give it a follow. This has been Hero.